Good morning. So I thought I would do a review of the sub-internship process applying on VSAS. I remember when I was a third year, pretty much all third year, um, I was really concerned about being behind for signing up for step two, behind on applying for sub-Is, and I wasn't. It's just the timeline of those things can be kind of unclear. Uh, so hopefully I can ease some of your anxiety by explaining what the process was like for me. And yeah, hopefully that'll help you out in your journeys during third year. So to start off with, um, I think during December of third year, you have a nice little break hopefully in there. And that's the time that I would really try to start getting a few things in order. Don't make it an unstressful break, because let's enjoy our breaks while we have them. But I would focus on getting your CV in order. If your school has a writing center, I would just reach out and make an appointment with them. Oh, hello, Tramp. Um, make an appointment with them and see if they have just like a pre-made CV that they can send you like with a format, and then fill it out. Um, Try to keep it brief, but that'll help you when you're applying to VSAS because a lot of places will require CVs, and it'll even help you in fourth year as you begin applying for residency because you'll have kind of created a documented list of all of the activities you've completed over the course of your journey through medical school. So do that, and then also if you have time and you feel inspired, definitely try to start working on that first draft of your personal statement. And it may be that you haven't done the rotation for the field that you're interested in yet, which might make it more difficult to write that personal statement. But if you have, I guess, a reason to believe that you want to go into that specialty, maybe just write a personal statement about what made you choose that field and what you think you can bring to residency programs as an individual applicant. So that's kind of what you should be worried about in December. Don't worry about applying for sub-Is quite yet. And then in February, between kind of January and February, the next thing I would make sure to get done is sign up for step two if you haven't. And your school will probably have different requirements for whether or not you have to take step two. I go to a DO school, so it's not required for us, but I think it's a good idea um, if it's something you're comfortable doing. And you want to take it early enough that you can get your scores back. ERAS opens. It opens on September 1st, but then the application itself doesn't get sent out until the end of September. And so what that means is that you want your scores to come back before the last day in September. So make sure you schedule it early enough to benefit you if you put in all the work of studying for step two in the first place. So in February, what I would start doing is just kind of looking at places, start building yourself a list of places that you want to apply to. Kind of do some research into what might be an appropriate number of applications to start sending out. Numbers of applications are not made equal, you know. Someone could apply to, you know, 100 family med programs, for example, but if they're all kind of like the best family med programs in the country, they could still be doing themselves a disservice in the application process. So you want to make sure that you apply broadly and that you apply to enough programs, and that's going to be something that your advisor at school hopefully can help you with. And then there's also, you know, the anxiety inducing resources like Reddit and SDN. Um, I think for psychiatry, um, for a DO student, it definitely seems like more is better, but I still haven't sent out my application, so I can't speak to it yet. I'll let you know maybe after all of the process is complete. Um, so you've hit February, you started building a list, and then based off of that list, I would pick, I don't know, maybe 10 programs that you really are stoked about, and that you think are really special programs for you, that would be either kind of reach programs, but they're in a location you really like, or maybe they offer a feature that you think is really cool. Um, and so those are the programs that you're probably going to want to apply to for a sub-I. And the thing you want to do then is kind of look into each of these programs and make sure that they're all using VSAS. And you can usually find that VSAS stands for Visiting Student Application Portal. I don't know. Visiting Student something. So make sure that they use VSAS. A couple programs, especially I've noticed the HCA programs use Clinician Nexus. I don't know if your school has to pay for you to use that service, but our school does. Um, so there are a few programs that don't use either service, and so you have to reach out to them individually. I wish there was like a nice concise list I could give you, and comment below if you know of a program that does it that way. The only one I can think of offhand is, I believe the one in Spokane, Washington doesn't use either of like the bigger application portals, and you just have to reach out to their program coordinator individually. And for those programs where it isn't a portal service and it's more of an individualized, like you reach out to the program itself, for those you want to reach out, I think, a lot earlier than any of the other application portals. So for those, I would reach out as early as February, and so hopefully you have all of your stuff in order from Christmas break so that the application can be very easy and you just write them an email. The other thing you want to start worrying about at this time, not worrying about, but kind of keeping track of, is your vaccinations. So if your school didn't have you complete a vaccination requirement, which I would find very surprising, I think everyone does. I encourage you basically to look up, I think it's the AAMC immunization form, and it's kind of a difficult to read form, but it lists all of the vaccination requirements that most programs are going to have of you. And so if you need to get any of those updated, if you need to redo any titers, start in February so that you're not so stressed about it later on. And then, let's see. So for VSAS, I don't think most applications opened until um, April 1st. A few, I'm looking at my email right now, so it looks like a couple opened in March, and a lot of them opened throughout April. So April 2nd, April 15th, and April 16th. So I think there was one or two that were already open in February. For me personally, I sent out about 20 VSAS applications. It costs $20 to apply to a program, and then when you send in that application, you can apply for multiple dates within that particular rotation. So, for example, if you wanted to apply for, I don't know, Stanford's inpatient psychiatry rotation, you'd pay $20, and then you could list all of the dates that you want to apply for, and maybe you're like, I really want to go here, so you could list all of them, and that wouldn't cost you any additional money. But if you wanted to do apply for an additional rotation at that school, so the child psych rotation, that would cost you an additional $20, I believe. Hopefully that's right, yeah. And so I sent out about 20 applications, which I think was probably too many, but I was really nervous about making sure that I got at least one or two. I think another thing if I could go back, one thing I really didn't think about was this is your last opportunity to do like rotations that are kind of field adjacent. So for me in psychiatry, I really wish I'd had the chance, and I might still through my school, but I didn't do this for VSAS. I wish I'd applied for maybe like a neuroradiology rotation, or like an endocrinology rotation, or like a sleep medicine rotation would have been really cool. So just because you're not interested in the field, um, in terms of applying for residency, it's okay to still apply for the rotation. There's a difference between a sub-internship and just an elective rotation, and both of those are seen on VSAS. And so the sub-internships will be called sub-Is, and those really are, I think, for people who have an express interest in not only attending residency in that field, but attending residency at that select program. But a lot of the rotations are audition rotations, so you may not be even rotating with a residency program. You might be just rotating within like a subspecialty clinic at a hospital. And so for those, I think it's completely appropriate to kind of explore things that may be out of your exact interest, just so that when you start residency, you have this more, you have a broader perspective on the type of medicine you're performing. So yeah, I think try to get your applications in as early as possible, and then going back to my email, I'll let you know kind of when I started hearing back from people. So I think the earliest rotation I scheduled was actually in February, but that one's kind of not an oddball, but they were open really, really early. The majority of places weren't open so early. And then I heard responses starting at the end of April, like April 29th, up until as late as June 15th, June 30th, even August 11th. So, yeah, it can really vary, and your mileage is going to vary, determined based off of how competitive of a program you offer and what the program might use as their selection criteria. The process is very, it's not very transparent at all, so who really knows? I think that the order in which people apply plays a much more important role than in like a residency selection process. So just make sure you get things in early, but don't stress about it until January, February. Start making sure that you have everything in order, and then most of the applications go out at the beginning of April.